The crystalline spires of Lumina Prime glittered under the light of 3 moons, their iridescent surfaces a testament to the artistry and technological prowess of the luminary. For millennia, this peaceful race had cultivated their world, turning it into a harmonious blend of nature and technology. The luminary, with their bioluminescent skin and delicate, elongated limbs, were known throughout their sector of the galaxy as diplomats, scientists, and artists. But on this night, the usual serenity of Lumina Prime was shattered by a cacophony of alarms. In the central command spire, First Minister Zora's tendrils writhed in distress as she absorbed the flood of incoming data. "Confirm this," she demanded, her voice trembling. "Check every sensor array we have." Her aide, Clin, worked feverishly at the holographic interface. "Confirmed, First Minister. The Void Horde has entered our system. Their fleet, it's unlike anything we've ever seen." Zara's inner light dimmed with dread. The Void Horde. For decades, they had been a distant nightmare, a cautionary tale told to frighten young luminary. A species so antithetical to their own, driven by conquest, consumption, and destruction, that the mere thought of them sent shivers through the collective consciousness of Lumina Prime. "How long?" Zara asked, steeling herself for the answer. Klein's fingers danced over the interface. "At their current velocity, 3 standard days until they reach our outer defenses." Zara closed her eyes, allowing herself a moment of despair. The luminary were not warriors. Their defenses, while advanced, were designed to protect against cosmic radiation and wayward asteroids, not a full-scale invasion. "First Minister," Clin said softly, interrupting her thoughts. "What are your orders?" Zara's eyes snapped open, a new determination flooding her being. "Initiate emergency protocols. Begin evacuations of our most vulnerable populations to the sanctuary moons. And..." She paused, knowing her next command would change the course of luminary history forever. "Prepare the stellar beacon." Clin's eyes widened. "The beacon. But First Minister, we've never used it. We don't know who might answer, or if anyone will at all." "We have no choice," Zara replied, her voice firm. "Our people face extinction. If there's even a chance that someone out there might help us, we must take it." As Clin hurried to carry out her orders, Zara turned to the vast window overlooking the capital city. The luminary had always prided themselves on their self-sufficiency, on building a civilization that lived in harmony with the cosmos. But now, faced with an enemy that sought only to consume and destroy, they found themselves woefully unprepared. In the days that followed, Lumina Prime became a hive of activity. Ships loaded with civilians streamed towards the sanctuary moons, while others worked tirelessly to bolster the planet's defenses. But even as they worked, the luminary knew it was futile. Their sensors showed the relentless advance of the Void Horde, a roiling mass of black ships that devoured everything in their path. On the eve of the 3rd day, Zara stood before the stellar beacon, a colossal structure that rose from the heart of the capital city. It had been built generations ago, a symbol of the luminaries' hope that they were not alone in the universe. Now, it would be their instrument of last resort. "Are we ready?" Zara asked, her voice echoing in the cavernous chamber. The chief engineer nodded. "Yes, First Minister. The beacon is primed and at full power. Once activated, it will send our message across the galaxy." Zara took a deep breath. "Initiate the sequence." The stellar beacon hummed to life, its crystalline structure pulsing with energy. A beam of pure white light shot into the sky, parting the clouds and streaking into the stars. Encoded within that beam was the luminary's desperate plea. "To any who can hear us, we, the luminary of Lumina Prime, face annihilation. An enemy known as the Void Horde threatens not just our world, but all life in the galaxy. We plead for aid, for salvation, for hope. Our coordinates follow. Please, if you can hear us, if you have the power to stand against this darkness, come to our aid. We have so much to lose, so much life to protect. Do not let the light of our civilization be extinguished." As the message beamed across the vast expanse of space, Zara and her people could only wait and hope. The Void Horde drew ever closer, their black ships now visible in the sky, blotting out the stars. In the final hours before the invasion began, as the Luminary prepared for what they feared would be their last stand, Zara gathered her people. Their bioluminescent skin pulsed with a mix of fear and determination as she addressed them. "My fellow Luminary," she began, her voice carried across the city by advanced acoustics. "We face our darkest hour. The Void Horde is upon us, and we may not have the strength to repel them alone. But we have done what we can. Our call for help races across the stars, carrying with it our hopes and dreams. Whether aid comes or not, we must stand firm. We must show the universe that the Luminary do not go gently into the night. We shine brightest in the darkest of times." A chorus of agreement rippled through the assembled Luminary, their bodies glowing brighter in unity and resolve. As Zara finished her speech, a junior communications officer rushed to her side, eyes wide with excitement. "First Minister, we're receiving a response to our beacon." Zara's heart leaped. "From whom? What do they say?" The officer's voice quivered as he read the message. "They call themselves humans, and they say they're coming to help." A wave of murmurs swept through the crowd. Humans, an unknown species, rushing to their aid. Could it be true? As the first Void Horde ships entered Lumina Prime's atmosphere, casting long shadows over the crystalline cities, a flicker of hope burned in the hearts of the Luminary. They were no longer alone in their fight. Somewhere out there, hurtling through the vastness of space, help was on its way. The question was, would it arrive in time? Humanity's response. The United Earth Defense Command, UEDC, buzzed with activity. Holographic displays flickered with real-time data streams, and urgent conversations filled the air. At the center of it all stood Admiral Elena Vega, her weathered face illuminated by the soft blue glow of the central strategic display. "Play it again," she ordered, her voice cutting through the chatter. The room fell silent as the alien distress call echoed through the command center once more. The fear in the alien voice was palpable, transcending the boundaries of species and language. "To any who can hear us, we, the Luminary of Lumina Prime, face annihilation." As the message faded, Admiral Vega turned to face the assembled UEDC Council. "Ladies and gentlemen, we've spent centuries wondering if we were alone in the universe. Now we know we're not, and our first contact is a cry for help." General Takashi Himura, head of Earth's ground forces, leaned forward. "Admiral, with all due respect, we know nothing about these Luminary or the threat they face. How can we justify risking human lives for an alien race?" Vega's eyes narrowed. "Because it's the right thing to do, General. Because if the situations were reversed, we'd hope someone would come to our aid." She gestured to the star chart dominating the room's far wall. "Moreover, this Void Horde, they speak of sounds like a threat to more than just the Luminary. If we don't stop them there, we might find ourselves facing them here." Dr. Aisha Patel, the UEDC's chief xenobiologist, spoke up. The Luminary's message contained a wealth of data about their species and their attackers. "From what we've decrypted so far, the Luminary are a peaceful, highly advanced civilization. The Void Horde, on the other hand," she shuddered, "they're unlike anything we theorized about. A hive mind species that consumes entire worlds, assimilating resources and life forms into their collective." The room erupted in murmurs of concern. Admiral Vega raised a hand for silence. "This is no longer about one alien race. This is about standing against a threat to all sentient life. I've already spoken with the United Earth Council. They've given us the green light for intervention." She tapped a control, and the holographic display shifted to show Earth's orbital shipyards. "We're mobilizing the first expeditionary fleet. The UESS Horizon will serve as our flagship." Captain Maya Chen, the youngest person ever to command a capital ship, stepped forward. "The Horizon stands ready, Admiral. But the journey to Lumina Prime will take weeks, even at maximum warp. Will we arrive in time? Vega nodded grimly. That's where things get interesting. Dr. Emerson, if you would. Dr. Alexei Emerson, a brilliant but eccentric physicist, practically bounced as he addressed the council. Ladies and gentlemen, we're about to make history. The luminary's distress call included schematics for something they call a fold gate. It's a form of faster-than-light travel that makes our warp drives look like horse-drawn carriages. He brought up a complex diagram on the main display. We've been working on something similar in theory, but the luminary have already perfected it. With their data, we can construct a fold gate right here in our solar system. It'll create a direct pathway to Lumina Prime, allowing us to arrive in days instead of weeks. The room buzzed with excitement and apprehension. General Himura voiced the concern on everyone's mind. And we're sure this alien technology is safe. Dr. Emerson nodded enthusiastically. The physics check out. It's like, imagine space as a piece of paper. Instead of traveling across the paper, we're folding it to bring 2 points together. It's brilliant, really. Admiral Vega cut in before Emerson could launch into a full lecture. We don't have the luxury of time for extensive testing. Every moment we delay, the luminary draw closer to extinction. We'll construct the fold gate and use it. She surveyed the room, meeting each council member's eyes. I won't order anyone to come on this mission. The risks are unprecedented, but the stakes are even higher. This is our chance to prove that humanity can be a force for good in the galaxy. To her pride, not a single person hesitated. Captain Chen spoke for them all. We're with you, Admiral. When do we leave? The next few days were a whirlwind of activity. As construction of the fold gate began in orbit, ships of the first expeditionary fleet underwent final preparations. The UESS Horizon, a sleek dreadnought nearly a kilometer long, hummed with energy as its crew made ready for humanity's first interstellar conflict. Down on Earth, the public reaction to the news was mixed. Some protested the risk of interfering in an alien war, while others were energized by the idea of humanity stepping onto the galactic stage as saviors. In a historic address, the President of the United Earth Council spoke to a global audience. My fellow citizens of Earth, we stand at a crossroads of history. For centuries, we have looked to the stars and wondered, are we alone? Now we know the answer, and with it comes great responsibility. The luminary, a peaceful species much like ourselves, face annihilation. They have called for aid, and we have the power to answer. Some say this is not our fight. I say, if not us, then who? If we turn our backs on those in need, how can we call ourselves a civilization worth preserving? This mission is not just about saving the luminary. It's about defining who we are as a species. To the brave men and women of the first expeditionary fleet, you carry with you the hopes and dreams of not just humanity, but of all those who yearn for justice and peace in this vast universe. Go forth with our blessing and return to us safely. As the address concluded, Admiral Vega stood on the bridge of the UESS Horizon, watching Earth grow smaller in the view screen. She felt the weight of history on her shoulders, but also a sense of purpose unlike anything she'd experienced before. Status report, she commanded. Captain Chen responded crisply. All ships report ready, Admiral. The fold gate is operational and awaiting our signal. Vega nodded, taking a deep breath. Very well. Signal the fleet. It's time to make history. She stepped forward, her voice carrying to every ship in the fleet. This is Admiral Vega to all hands. We are about to embark on the most important mission in human history. The luminary are counting on us. Let's show them, and the rest of the galaxy, what humanity is capable of. With a gesture from Vega, the Horizon surged forward, leading the fleet towards the shimmering portal of the fold gate. As they approached, the gate flared to life, a swirling vortex of energy that promised to catapult them across the galaxy. Fold gate transit in 3, 2, 1. In a flash of blinding light, the first expeditionary fleet vanished from Earth's solar system, hurtling towards a distant world and humanity's date with destiny. The journey to save Lumina Prime had begun. The journey and preparation. The transition through the Fold Gate was unlike anything the human crew had experienced. For a fraction of a second, it felt as if reality itself had been turned inside out. Then, in a burst of scintillating light, the first expeditionary fleet emerged into a star system light years from Earth. On the bridge of the UESS Horizon, Admiral Vega steadied herself against her command chair. "Status report," she called out, her voice slightly shaky. Captain Chen, looking a bit green herself, consulted her displays. "All ships accounted for. Admiral, we've successfully traversed 1,527 light-years in under a minute." A cheer went up from the bridge crew, quickly stifled as they remembered the gravity of their mission. Dr. Emerson, who had insisted on being present for the transit, was practically giddy with excitement. "It worked. It actually worked," he exclaimed, poring over the sensor data. The Luminary weren't exaggerating about their technology. "This changes everything we know about physics." Admiral Vega allowed herself a small smile before refocusing on the task at hand. "We'll have time for scientific breakthroughs later, Doctor. Right now, we need to get our bearings and establish contact with the Luminary." As the fleet regrouped and ran diagnostics, the communications team worked feverishly to decrypt and translate the wealth of data the Luminary had included with their distress call. Hours passed, filled with tense anticipation and frantic preparation. Finally, a breakthrough came. Lieutenant Zoe Rodriguez, the fleet's top linguist, burst onto the bridge. "Admiral, we've done it. We've established a real-time translation matrix for the Luminary language." Vega nodded approvingly. "Excellent work, Lieutenant. Open a channel to Lumina Prime." The main view screen flickered to life, revealing the face of First Minister Zora. The alien leader's bioluminescent skin pulsed with a mix of fear and hope as she beheld the humans for the first time. "This is Admiral Elena Vega of the United Earth Defense Command," Vega began, her words automatically translated into the musical tones of the Luminary language. "We've received your distress call and have come to offer our assistance." Zara's tendrils quivered with emotion. "Admiral Vega, words cannot express our gratitude, but I fear you may have arrived too late. The Void Horde has already begun their assault on our outer defenses. We're losing ground rapidly." Vega's jaw set with determination. "The battle's not over yet, First Minister. We didn't come all this way to give up now. Can you transmit the current tactical situation to our fleet?" As the Luminary data streamed in, the mood on the Horizon's bridge grew somber. The Void Horde's forces were vast, their black ships swarming around Lumina Prime like a plague of locusts. The Luminary defenses, while advanced, were crumbling under the relentless assault. General Himura, watching from the tactical station, shook his head grimly. "Their numbers are overwhelming. Admiral, even with our technology, I'm not sure we have the firepower to repel them entirely." Vega studied the tactical display, her mind racing. "Then we don't try to beat them with brute force. We need to think outside the box." She turned to Dr. Patel. "Doctor, what have you learned about the Void Horde's biology and psychology?" Dr. Patel brought up her findings on a nearby screen. "They're a hive mind, Admiral. Individually, each Void drone is little more than an organic machine, but they're all connected to a central intelligence, which we believe resides in their largest ship, this one here." She pointed to a massive, pulsating structure at the heart of the Horde's fleet. Captain Chen leaned in, her eyes narrowing. "A single point of failure. If we could somehow disrupt that central intelligence, we might be able to throw the entire Horde into disarray." Vega finished. She turned to Dr. Emerson. "Doctor, could we use the principles of the Fold Gate technology to create some kind of disruptive field?" Emerson's eyes lit up. "A localized space-time distortion. It's theoretically possible, but we'd need to get extremely close to their command ship to deploy it. Vega nodded, the beginnings of a plan forming in her mind. Then that's what we'll do. But first, we need to buy ourselves some time. She opened a channel to the entire fleet. All ships, prepare for battle. We're going to punch a hole through the Horde's lines and establish a defensive perimeter around Lumina Prime. As the fleet sprang into action, Vega turned back to the view screen, where First Minister Zara waited anxiously. First Minister, we have a plan, but we'll need your help to pull it off. Are your people ready to fight alongside us? Zara's bioluminescence brightened with resolve. Admiral, the Luminary have always been peaceful, but for the sake of our world, our very existence, we will stand with you against the darkness. Over the next several hours, human and Luminary forces integrated their technologies and tactics. The Horizon's hangar bay became a hive of activity as engineers worked to modify a squadron of stealth fighters with Luminary cloaking technology. Meanwhile, Dr. Emerson and a team of Luminary scientists raced against time to develop the space-time distortion device that would be their best hope against the Void Horde's hive mind. In a quiet moment amidst the preparations, Admiral Vega found herself standing before a viewport, gazing out at the beleaguered planet they had come to save. Captain Chen joined her, concern etched on her face. "Do you think we can really pull this off, Admiral?" Chen asked softly. Vega was silent for a moment before responding. "We have to, Maya, not just for the Luminary, but for every sentient species in the galaxy. If the Void Horde isn't stopped here." She left the thought unfinished. Chen nodded, understanding the weight of their responsibility. "The crew is ready, Admiral. Whatever happens, we'll give it everything we've got." As if on cue, a proximity alarm blared throughout the ship. Lieutenant Rodriguez's voice came over the intercom, tense but controlled. "Admiral to the bridge. The Void Horde has detected our presence. They're altering course to engage us." Vega and Chen shared a look of grim determination before hurrying to the bridge. As they arrived, the vast darkness of space before them was filled with the approaching swarm of Void Horde ships, their black hulls seeming to devour the very starlight around them. Admiral Vega took her place at the command center, her voice steady as she addressed the fleet. "This is it, people. Everything we fought for, everything we believe in, comes down to this moment. The Luminary are counting on us. Earth is counting on us. Let's show the galaxy what humanity is made of." As the crew braced for battle, the stars themselves seemed to hold their breath. The fate of not just one world, but potentially all worlds, hung in the balance. The battle for Lumina Prime was about to begin. The battle begins. The void of space erupted in a dazzling display of destructive power as the human fleet engaged the Void Horde. Lances of energy crisscrossed the battlefield, while swarms of fighters darted between capital ships like angry insects. Admiral Vega's voice rang out clear and steady over the comms. "Remember the plan. Alpha and Beta squadrons punch through their front lines. Gamma and Delta provide covering fire. All other ships form up around the horizon. We're making a run for Lumina Prime." The UES Horizon surged forward, its advanced shields glowing as they absorbed hit after hit from the Void Horde's weapons. Captain Chen's hands flew over her console, coordinating the fleet's movements with precision, born of years of training and natural talent. "Admiral," she called out, "the Horde's ships are adapting to our attack patterns. They're learning fast." Vega nodded grimly. "As we expected. Time to show them some human unpredictability. Initiate Maneuver Omega." At her command, the human fleet suddenly broke formation, each ship seeming to move at random. To the hive mind of the Void Horde, it appeared as chaos. But it was a carefully choreographed dance, one that the individualistic humans excelled at. The Void Horde's rigid formations faltered, creating gaps that the human ships exploited mercilessly. Plasma torpedoes found their marks, ripping apart the biomechanical hulls of the alien vessels. But the victory was short-lived. For every Horde ship destroyed, two more seemed to take its place. The sheer numbers of the enemy were overwhelming. Hull breaches on decks 12 through 15. An ensign called out as the horizon shuddered under a particularly vicious barrage. "Reroute power from non-essential systems to the shields," Vega ordered. She turned to Dr. Emerson, who was monitoring the prototype space-time distortion device. "Doctor, please tell me you have good news." Emerson looked up from his console, his face pale but determined. "The device is ready, Admiral, but we'll need to get much closer to the Horde's command ship for it to be effective." Vega's eyes narrowed as she studied the tactical display. The Horde's massive command ship loomed in the distance, surrounded by layers of defensive formations. Getting close would be nearly impossible, unless Captain Chen plot a course directly for the command ship. All power to engines and forward shields. Chen's eyes widened in realization. "Admiral, you can't mean—" "Oh yes, I do," Vega said with a grim smile. "We're going to ram right through their defenses." The Horizon's engines roared to life, pushing the massive ship to speeds it was never designed for. The human vessel became a battering ram, smashing through smaller Horde ships and scattering their formations. Alarms blared across the bridge as the ship groaned under the strain. "Hull integrity at 62% and falling," an officer reported. "Maintain course," Vega commanded, her knuckles white, as she gripped her chair. As they neared the command ship, a new threat emerged. Void Horde boarding parties, launched from the surrounding ships, latched onto the Horizon's hull. "Breaching pods detected," Lieutenant Rodriguez shouted. "They're cutting through our hull." Vega turned to General Himura. "General, looks like you'll get your ground battle after all. Defend this ship at all costs." Himura nodded sharply and headed for the armory, barking orders into his comm unit. Throughout the Horizon, human Marines clashed with the grotesque foot soldiers of the Void Horde. The ship's corridors became battlegrounds, filled with the chatter of gunfire and the inhuman shrieks of the invaders. Back on the bridge, Vega watched as they closed in on their target. Dr. Emerson, status of the device. Charging, 85%, 90%. Emerson called out, his voice tense. The Horizon shuddered as the Horde's command ship opened fire with weapons of unimaginable power. Beams of dark energy lanced out, carving gashes in the human vessel's hull. "We've lost engines," Chen reported, her hands dancing over her console in a desperate attempt to maintain control. "Auxiliary power to the device," Vega ordered. "This is our only shot." As if sensing the humans' plan, the Void Horde intensified their attack. Swarms of smaller ships sacrificed themselves, ramming into the Horizon in suicidal attempts to stop its advance. "Device at 100% charge," Emerson shouted over the cacophony of battle. Vega leaned forward, her eyes locked on the looming form of the enemy command ship. "Do it. Activate the device now." Emerson slammed his hand down on the activation switch. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, reality itself appeared to warp around the Horizon. A wave of distorted space-time expanded outward, engulfing the Horde's command ship. The effect was instantaneous and horrifying. The massive vessel twisted and contorted, parts of it seeming to exist in multiple places at once. The psychic scream of the hive mind reverberated through space, causing every human on the Horizon to clutch their heads in pain. Across the battlefield, Void Horde ships suddenly faltered. Deprived of the central intelligence that guided them, individual vessels began to drift aimlessly or crash into one another. "It's working," Chen exclaimed, her voice filled with disbelief and hope. But their victory was far from assured. The Horizon, battered and nearly crippled, was now at the heart of the enemy fleet, and while many Horde ships were now inactive, others seemed to be regaining some form of independent function. "All ships, this is Admiral Vega," she broadcast to the fleet. "The Horde's command structure is disrupted. Press the attack. Push them back from Lumina Prime." As the human fleet rallied, exploiting the Horde's confusion, Vega turned to her bridge crew. Their faces were streaked with sweat and soot, but their eyes shone with determination. "Damage report," she demanded. "Multiple hull breaches, life support failing on lower decks," an officer reported. "Weapons at 30% capacity. Shields are gone, Admiral." Vega nodded, taking in the dire situation. They had struck a critical blow against the Void Horde, but at a terrible cost. The horizon was all but dead in space, surrounded by a wounded but still dangerous enemy. "Options?" she asked, looking around the bridge. Before anyone could respond, a new voice cut through the comms. "Admiral Vega, this is First Minister Zora. We see what you've done. Help is on the way. Hold on just a little longer." As if to punctuate the luminary leader's words, a brilliant light suddenly blossomed on the view screen. A massive luminary vessel, escorted by dozens of smaller craft, dropped out of fold space near the horizon's position. Vega allowed herself a small smile. "Well, ladies and gentlemen, it seems the cavalry has arrived. Let's make sure we're still here to thank them when this is over. All hands, prepare to repel boarders. We're not done fighting yet." As a renewed sense of hope surged through the crew, the battle for Lumina Prime entered its final desperate phase. The combined forces of humanity and the Luminaries stood together against the wounded but still deadly Void Horde. The fate of two civilizations, and perhaps the entire galaxy, hung in the balance. Aftermath and Alliance. The battle for Lumina Prime raged on for hours, but with the Void Horde's hive mind disrupted and the timely arrival of luminary reinforcements, the tide had decisively turned. Pockets of resistance remained, but it was clear that the day was won. Admiral Vega stood on the bridge of the UESS Horizon, or what was left of it. The ship's hull was breached in multiple places, held together by emergency force fields and the sheer determination of its crew. But as she looked out at the debris-strewn space around them, a sense of pride swelled in her chest. "Status report," she called out, her voice hoarse from hours of issuing commands. Captain Chen, her uniform torn and smudged with soot, managed a tired smile. "The Void Horde is in full retreat. Admiral, our fleet, in conjunction with the luminary forces, has pushed them back beyond the system's outer planets." A cheer went up from the battered bridge crew, quickly stifled as the reality of their losses set in. Vega nodded solemnly. "Casualties." Chen's expression sobered. "Still being tallied, but significant. We've lost nearly a third of our fleet. The horizon is, well, she'll never fly again. But we saved billions of lives today." Before Vega could respond, a comm channel crackled to life. First Minister Zora's face appeared on the view screen, her bioluminescence pulsing with a mix of joy and sorrow. "Admiral Vega," the luminary leader began, her voice thick with emotion. "There are no words in our language, or yours, to express the depth of our gratitude. You and your people have saved not just our world, but our entire civilization." Vega straightened, wincing slightly at her injuries. "We came to help, First Minister. I'm just glad we arrived in time." Zara nodded. "And yet, the cost has been terrible. Please, allow us to assist with your repairs and tend to your wounded. It's the least we can do." Over the next few days, as the immediate danger passed, the full scale of what had transpired began to sink in. Luminary medical ships worked tirelessly alongside human medics, tending to the injured of both species. The advanced healing technologies of the Luminary proved invaluable, saving many lives that would have otherwise been lost. On the 5th day after the battle, a historic meeting took place in the Grand Assembly Hall of Lumina Prime's capital city. Admiral Vega, still bearing the marks of battle, stood beside First Minister Zora before a gathered crowd of humans and Luminary. Zora addressed the assembly, her voice carrying to every corner of the vast chamber. "Today, we stand at the dawn of a new era. The Void Horde threatened to extinguish the light of our civilization. But in our darkest hour, we found hope from beyond the stars." She turned to Vega, extending a tendril and a gesture of friendship. "The humans came to our aid without hesitation, risking everything for a people they had never met. They have shown us that we are not alone in this vast universe, and that there is strength in unity. Vega stepped forward, taking Zora's tendril in a careful handshake. The people of Earth are honored to have fought alongside the Luminary. Your courage in the face of annihilation is an inspiration to us all. But the Void Horde, while defeated here, remains a threat to all sentient life in the galaxy. Zara nodded gravely. Indeed, which is why I propose a formal alliance between our peoples. Together, we can stand against any threat that may arise. The assembly hall erupted in cheers and the pulsing glow of excited luminary. As the noise died down, Dr. Emerson stepped forward, a holographic display hovering before him. "If I may," he began, his eyes gleaming with scientific excitement. "The technology we've exchanged in just these few days has advanced both our species by decades, if not centuries. The potential for what we could achieve together is, well, it's limitless." General Himura, his arm in a sling, spoke up. "And let's not forget the military implications. The Void Horde caught the Luminary off guard, but with our combined strengths, we can create a defense network that spans the galaxy." As the discussions continued, it became clear that this was more than just a military alliance. It was the beginning of a new chapter for both civilizations. Plans were made for cultural exchanges, scientific collaborations, and joint colonization efforts. Months passed, and the effects of the Battle of Lumina Prime rippled across the galaxy. Word spread of the valiant stand against the Void Horde, and other alien civilizations began to reach out, some seeking protection, others offering to join the fledgling alliance. 1 year after the battle, the Galactic Concord was formally established. Headquartered on a space station orbiting Lumina Prime, it served as a forum for interstellar cooperation and mutual defense. Admiral Vega, hailed as a hero across multiple worlds, was appointed as its first human representative. As she stood in her new office, looking out at the stars, Vega reflected on how much had changed. Humanity had taken its first steps onto the galactic stage, not as conquerors, but as protectors and allies. A chime at her door interrupted her thoughts. Captain Chen entered, now wearing the uniform of the Galactic Concord Fleet. "Admiral," she said, snapping a crisp salute. "The Andorian delegation has arrived. They're eager to discuss joining the Concord." Vega nodded, a small smile playing on her lips. "Well then, let's not keep them waiting. We have a galaxy to unite." As they walked to the meeting, Vega couldn't help but feel a sense of optimism. The road ahead would be challenging, filled with new threats and unforeseen obstacles. But she knew that together, united in their diversity, the peoples of the galaxy could face anything. The Battle of Lumina Prime had been won, but the true victory was the dawn of a new age of cooperation and exploration. Humanity had found its place among the stars, not in isolation, but as part of a greater cosmic community. And somewhere out there, in the vast expanse of space, the remnants of the Void Horde drifted, a reminder of the darkness that had been turned back. But in its place, a new light shone, the combined brilliance of countless civilizations standing together against the night. The Galactic Alliance had begun.